Welcome to another edition of Let's Talk Ed. I know it's been a while, but there's a lot of management, support, funding, you name it, that I've been trying to get. But the good news is we're back. Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris. This is a segment I'd wanted to do earlier before the semester started. And if so, I know we're halfway through the semester, but again, it's not too late because I'm also hoping this will be one of those videos that you can always go back and watch at the beginning of every semester. So what I would have done early on before you started the semester was to go through a couple of checks and then also give you four steps to help you prepare very well for your semester. Okay, so very quickly, let's pretend the semester hasn't started yet. The advice I always give students is to check your emails. Check your emails because your instructors are not going to be using Facebook. So that way you know what is changing. If there's any updates, your instructors are going to put it or send you an email. Also, if you happen to be on a waiting list, you want to make sure that you are off the waiting list before the first week. Also remember, my advice to students who are on a waiting list is to try and talk to your instructors to see if you can still attend the class while you're on the waiting list, because that way, if a spot opens up, you're not playing catch up. But again, it is per the instructor's discretion, so you want to talk to the instructor. The other reason I also want you to check your emails is because if there's any class schedule conflicts, you will be able to know because you have to get an email from the instructor for any changes, okay? And if it doesn't meet your schedule because you did register before the changes happen, then you can have a conversation with your instructor. Last but not the least is you want to make sure that the very first week your tuition is paid off. If you're having financial aid, you want to make sure the financial aid office is funded or somehow your financial aid is getting paid for, because at the very first week, at most, week 2, is when deregistration happens. Deregistration is when you get dropped from your registered classes because you haven't paid your tuition. And that is how people on the waiting list also kind of get in. So you want to make sure that you have those taken care of, okay? So now what I'm going to do is to go through the very 4 quick steps to start your semester right, okay? And step 1 is tool prep. I'll talk about what tool prep is. Step 2 is know your environment. Step 3 is what I call the smart prep. And step 4 is mental prep, okay? I honestly believe if you're able to go through these 4 steps before your semester starts, you will be good. You'll be ready to go. Okay, so what is step 1, tool prep? Step 1, tool prep starts with knowing your schedule. You're going to have 4 classes, 5 classes, 3 classes. You want to know your schedule and have a schedule. I always tell students, your schedule should be from Monday through Sunday. When you eat, when you study, when you go to class, and when you have to go to bed, all right? Have that full schedule the first week of school because you want to also try to stay on that schedule. If you're working, you want to put that on your schedule as well. Get your textbooks, laptops, everything that you're going to need. If there's any software that's required for your class, you want to get it ready to go. For laptops, check with your instructors if they're running any software. You want to make sure the capacity for that software is your laptop can handle that capacity, all right? So you want to do that very quickly. So again, I want to go through this very quickly. Step 1, that's what I call tool prep. Step 2, know your environment. Every class you're going to take, chances are, is going to be in different classrooms. So you want to make sure that you visit those classrooms, see what a classroom is like. Is it big? Is it small? Is it hot? Is it cold? You also want to know all this and also pick a spot where you would like to sit during the semester in that specific classroom. The classroom is cold. You want to make sure you take a sweatshirt. And I always tell students, sit in the front. I know students don't like to sit in the front. You want to sit in the front. My suggestion for that being, as an instructor, when I'm teaching, especially in a very large environment, I look at the front row. If I ask, are there any questions? I look at the front row. Some of you have a hard time asking questions in class. So if you're sitting in the front, again, for me, I look at the faces and I read cues. I could tell when students have questions, all right? So when you sit in the front, it's very easy to ask questions, and that way you're able to get the best out of what you're paying for that class, all right? So know your environment. That also includes knowing your resources, the libraries, the tutoring center, the writing centers, your advisors, and most importantly, your instructor's office. You want to know your instructor's office so that way if you have any question, you know where the office is, you know their office hours. Okay, so that's step 2, know your environment. Step 3 is what I call smart prep. I hope by now you know that for your syllabus, 80% of what is going to be in your syllabus is standard. Every institution has a standard class name, class time, so all those policies, what you have to do for attendance, 80% is going to be standard. What you want to check on for your syllabus per your class is the 20%, where per the instructor's discretion. I will use myself as an example. I do not allow students to miss more than 3 of my classes. If you miss 3 of my classes, it's a letter grade drop. This is per my discretion. Different instructors have different rules for cheating, policies, and actually that's one of the big ones you want to check. Check the syllabus to find out what instructor's rule is for cheating. There's an institution rule that says, hey, if you cheat the first time, you get a warning. If you cheat the second time, maybe a suspension, third time probation. But again, that doesn't mean the instructor doesn't have their own rules for cheating. Some instructors will say, hey, when you cheat, you automatically fail my class. So that is a 20% of what I need you to look for in the syllabus, okay? If your instructor is using any technology that is different, you want to check that. This is all part of what I call the smart prep step 3, okay? Also, if there's any new gadgets that your instructors are going to be using, if you're using social media, right, you want to be one step ahead of them, and most of the time you all are, right? Twitter, X now that you call it, Instagram, whatever it is that you use for social media. Some instructors will incorporate that in their classes, so you want to check and make sure that you know what they will be using, all right? So again, step 3, smart prep, what's new, that's basically that. Last but not the least, and probably the most important one, is my step 4, which I call mental prep. I'm going to spend a little bit of time on this here because if you do not have this, it doesn't matter if you have step 1, step 2, and step 3. If you do not have step 4, nothing matters. Step 4 is mental prep. At the beginning of the semester, I know we're excited to go to college, which is great. Find something that motivates you. Some are not. You want to ask yourself the question over and over again. Why am I in college? Do I want to be here this semester? That mental preparation is very, very important. So you want to ask yourself that question. Find something that's going to engage you, something that's going to motivate you. I know some of you are excited about a new football season for the semester, and so you want to go to college, but you also got to remember why you're going to college. Know your instructors, okay? You have to know your instructors. That helps with your mental preparation. Rate my professor. Some of you probably read something about your professors. Don't dwell too much on rate my professors because it's one person's opinion, okay? The best way to know your instructors is either talk to them, talk to some of the friends that did well in that class, okay, and get their feedback. They might say, this professor is very strict, he's very tough, but you're going to learn, right? Different opinions, different views. So you want to make sure that you know your instructor by talking to people that have actually had that instructor. Last but not the least, you're going to register for probably 4 or 5 classes, and 2 of those classes might be a general education requirement. And I know some of you will say, well, why do I have to do this? It's a conspiracy theory, make our college life. No, there's a reason for you to be taking those classes. There's a reason for those classes or those courses to be in your curriculum. Yes, there are some classes that we could reevaluate and say, you know what, maybe we don't need to take this, but that's going to be for a whole different segment that I do now. The reason I'm saying this is because I do not want students, or I don't want to hear students saying, I'm required to take this class. That's why I'm doing it. You got to find a motivation for taking that class besides it being a requirement. And maybe one of those is to find out why you're being asked to take that class and also why it is part of the curriculum. And I guarantee you there's a reason for that. In the engineering field or in the technical field, most of these courses are always either prerequisites because there's application to them. I know you're wondering, why do I have to take differential equations? Well, if you take differential equations, I guarantee you 90% of our engineering courses will require differential equations, so you have to find a practical application for that, okay? All right. Again, very quickly, those are my 4 steps to help you start a semester right. I'm going to go short and quick. I'm back with Let's Talk Ed. Now I have some support thanks to Mr. David helping us now. Like I said, logistics with working this podcast is a little bit challenging, but I'm back. We are back in place. We're going to keep going. So thank you again for listening, for tuning in. I hope your semester goes right. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. And stay tuned for the next edition of Let's Talk Ed with Professor Chris.